So what is healthy coping? Um, so specifically for diabetes, it's having a positive attitude towards diabetes, um, active self-management, reaching out to positive support networks when needed, maintaining healthy relationships with others, and utilizing activities that improve quality of life. So coping with diabetes. Diabetes can harm most aspects of our lives, including relationships with family and friends, emotional well-being, and physical health. Coping with diabetes does not only occur within our minds, it also occurs within our social support systems, living environment, and personal identity or sense of self. Um, so the first question is, what are your feelings about living with diabetes? Um, you have any feelings about diabetes? And then the next question, do you believe that diabetes is a condition that can be managed? And then another one, do you feel there is anything you can do to affect the outcome of your diabetes? So if you feel comfortable, if you want to answer any of these questions, I know it's just you, so um
Um,
yeah.
okay.
And I know that
See.
you don't have diabetes as well. You could also pertain this to the pre diabetes too.
Yeah, I don't have diabetes, but I have pre-diabetes. So, um, I know diabetes sucks because I've seen a lot of family members have complications because of having diabetes. Like kidney failure and all sorts of things, eye loss, eye vision. So, not a big fan of it. Um, I do think diabetes is a condition that can be managed, um, obviously with medicine, but also like exercise and taking care of yourself and health and just education about it. Um, is there anything you can do to affect the outcome? Well, I'm here. I'm signing up for this class. uh, I'm taking my doctor's advice and trying to, not have it. I tackled everything else in my life, so I don't know what else I cannot you know. I don't think there's anything that I can't do. Let's put it that way.
Thank you. I know living with even diabetes or pre-diabetes can be a really big life adjustment. And then just seeing your family go through it. Um, it's really hard to see. And I'm glad that you came in here for the classes at NACA, especially just to let it out, and just to learn more about it. It's a really good, I think, healthy coping skill as well, just to learn more about it. So my next slide. So next slide is about shock and denial. When bad things happen, a first response can be shock. It can be hard to believe it's really true. Um, you may know someone who has diabetes complications, and you might be scared the same thing will happen to you. Maybe you don't feel any symptoms and think that your diagnosis is wrong. And then some steps to take. So, one of the steps can be express your feelings by talking to someone, journaling, meditation, realize and accept that those feelings are normal, focus on positive aspects of your life, and learn about the things that are within your power to change. So I feel like a lot of these go hand in hand with therapy. We work on a lot of these in therapy. Just talking to somebody about it, letting it out, especially if you haven't told anybody. Journaling if you don't feel comfortable telling other people about it, just writing it on paper and letting it all out, having a safe space to do that. And then meditation. I know a lot of people think of meditation as like a spiritual aspect, but it doesn't have to be with therapy. It can be, mindfulness techniques, the healthy coping skills, reframing negative thoughts into positive thoughts. And I know a lot of therapists also talk about like what healthy coping skills can you do? And like I said, mindfulness, just getting your mind off of what you're thinking about in the moment into more positive thought. And then being in the present helps with um the shock and the denial. Um, And then realizing, accepting that those feelings are normal. So instead of constantly, denying it and pushing those feelings down, taking some time to realize and accept it. So yeah, so next one is anger and resentment. These are kind of the 5 stages of grief as well. You might identify. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here too. So some people feel angry about diabetes. They may feel it means a lifetime of restriction. You might feel like you've been betrayed by your own body. Anger is very understandable, especially for someone who feels that they've worked hard to do the right things to prevent diabetes. And some might feel that it's not fair. I think anger and resentment are a totally valid feeling, especially with, the circumstances that diabetes has. You have a lot of restrictions. Um, so I think this is where a lot of acceptance and commitment can come in. Just understanding, like, you know what, especially if you have diabetes, like identifying, like, you know what, I have to accept it and I can't change it at the moment. So what are ways I can accept it and cope with these feelings? So next one, sorry. Steps to take. Realize that it's okay to feel angry or resentful. It helps to share these thoughts with someone you trust. Try not to let resentment overtake you. Have realistic expectations of themselves. Understand that diabetes can be perfectly controlled or managed, and focus on what you can do to improve your situation. And then guilt, self-blame. People often feel that diabetes was brought on by their own actions. Maybe the doctor warned them that they needed to lose weight, exercise, eat better. While some of these actions can help prevent or delay diabetes, no one can control their genetics. And there are some steps to take for this. Okay. For those newly diagnosed, make sure you don't play the blame game. Realize that you can't change the past, but you can learn from it. You can't undo your choices, but you can make different choices going forward. Focus on what you can do in the future to improve your situation. Give yourself credit for your efforts to manage diabetes right now. So again, I feel like this is a lot of accepting, the diagnosis and moving on from that. And moving with that, sadness and worry, depression. So the next step so sadness is a very common response. If you have lost someone to diabetes, the diagnosis might cause you to relive the sadness again. You might worry that you too will have a bad outcome, and you might worry that things will only get worse. Some steps to take. Realize that sadness and worry are normal emotions. You can talk to a provider if feelings of depression, sadness, or hopelessness are prolonged. And I feel like this can be with anybody as well. If you can find somebody in your environment, a close friend, a family member, maybe a coworker, to talk about these feelings can help as well. Be involved in regular physical activity for mood elevating effects, and find a support system to help uplift you when you're feeling down. I feel like for the regular physical activity, it's easier said than done. I think one of the main things we can start off with is small habit changes. So every day, having the small habit change and doing a regular physical activity that's small enough where you can complete it every day. And I feel like eventually it can get big enough and comfortable enough where you can do longer amounts of physical activity. Okay, and stress management. So, what situations in your life currently cause you a lot of stress? And in what ways does your diabetes self-care change when you feel stressed, depressed, or upset? If you're comfortable, you can answer. Let me see.
So go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to.
Okay. Well, I know you know my story already. I lost people in my family, and that's how I ended up with my IBS and SIBO and gastrointestinal erosion. And I think because my stomach is already not doing so great, you know, I can't digest food properly. I'm just a freaking mess. I think that's how, I think that's also probably contributed to my pre-diabetes diagnosis. And I have been doing all these steps, like, you know, seeing a nutritionist, going to counseling. I had to stop counseling because, you know, they charge, I can't afford it. So, that's that kind of sucks. Otherwise, I'd still see you every week, Kyra.
I know.
But, you know, I do, I don't know. I don't blame myself for, you know, having it. It just, I think it's all of my stomach issues come from a result of having stress, which came from losing family members, which, you know, I spent time trying to work through. So it's just, yeah, it's just trying to get through the other side of it. It's not that I'm not taking measures. I've been working my ass off trying to get myself out of this slump.
Yeah.
And at least I'm, you know, I am doing things to try to take care of myself. It's just unexpected roadblocks, I guess, that kind of hinder it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that, you know, you're taking the steps to do it. And even though there's all these roadblocks, you know, you're still showing up every day and putting in the work. And I feel like you'll get to a part of your life where you're where all the work and the effort that you put into it will eventually be worth it, and you'll come out of the other side of it. So next one, so stress. So we're gonna talk a little bit about stress. Okay, so stress is a fact of life. Stressors are situations or events that can cause an emotional or physical response, either be negative or positive events. With stressors come a physical and emotional response that we know as stress. The stress response is the body's way of helping to survive in situations that cause for immediate action. So the next one, we're gonna watch a little video about stress. So let me hopefully this video will work. You can hear it. Can you hear it?
I can't hear it now.
At the dawn of
Oh,
time,
there.
ancestors lived in a world of danger. When they were attacked by cave bears, it was a bad idea to stay calm. So whenever they saw danger, their brains sounded a stress alarm that put their bodies into action. This ability to feel stress got passed down to us in the modern age. The problem is that our brains can't tell the difference between a physical danger and a social or emotional danger, so they all stress us out in the same way. So today, although bear attacks are less common, stress is a much larger part of our lives. In 2018, a Gallup poll found that 55% of Americans felt stressed during a lot of the day, while 45% felt worried a lot, compared with 0.0000004% of Americans attacked by bears while visiting Yellowstone Park. Stress can still be helpful when it helps us take on challenges, provided that we get some rest afterwards. But when stress lasts for a long time, without giving us a chance to rest, it can do serious damage to our bodies. It can increase our risk for diabetes or make our current diabetes worse. To see why, we have to ask, how does stress work? When the brain senses danger, it releases stress hormones that get the body ready for action. Blood sugar rises to give the body extra fuel. This gives us a burst of energy that ends when the danger goes away. But when stress lasts for a long time, and the body isn't given a chance to rest, the brain stays in a constant state of alarm. So it keeps producing stress hormones that keep raising blood sugar, which is great for a short burst of energy. But constantly high blood sugar is toxic and leads to diabetes symptoms. Stress also increases insulin resistance, which makes our bodies less able to reduce blood sugar. And to top it all off, stress might encourage us to try to relax with unhealthy habits, like smoking, eating high-calorie foods, or isolating ourselves. which worsen diabetes and make us even more stressed in the long run. So what can you do? Although we might not be able to control the amount of stressful things in our lives, we can control how we respond to them. You can try to better understand the sources of your stress. You can practice mindfulness to recognize when you're feeling stressed. Then you can try methods of reducing stress, like exercise, a healthy diet, getting enough sleep, hanging out with friends or family, or even just taking a break. So relax. It's one of the healthiest things you can do for yourself.
I always like these type of videos because it's kind of the same scenario every time. Like an animal attacking. But I feel like that's one of the ways that we understand the most when stress is shown that way. So managing stress, either reducing life stressors or reducing the stress response. I know it's easier to say, we can just reduce life stressors, but it's often also hard. So we can also reduce the stress response. Some stressors cannot be eliminated altogether, but your response is something that you can change. So healthy coping skills versus unhealthy coping skills. Coping skills are actions we take consciously or unconsciously to deal with stress, problems, or uncomfortable emotions. Unhealthy coping skills tend to feel good at the moment, but have long-term negative consequences. Healthy coping skills, or coping strategies may not provide instant gratification, but they lead long-lasting positive outcomes. And then one thing that I also like to say is that a lot of our coping skills come from our parents. We identify what they've done and we learn from them. So you might realize like, oh, my mom does this, so I might do this too. And, I've seen that pattern a lot. And then that can also be with like unhealthy coping skills, like drinking, smoking, things like that. So next one. So healthy coping skills. I feel like a lot of these are said, but this is what we like to practice a lot on. So practicing relaxation strategies, regular physical activity, establishing and maintaining boundaries, turning to spirituality or religion for support and guidance, and discussing your stressors with trusted individuals. I think what we go through a lot in therapy is just identifying those healthy coping skills, which can be like mindfulness, implementing, maybe healthy schedules in your life, holding you accountable for that. I think one of the ones that I like after like watching videos like this one, is a healthy coping skill that's kind of like not a lot of people have heard of, but if you're feeling very overwhelmed and stressed, taking some time just to sit back and sipping water because you're telling your body like I'm not in danger. Like for example, like if we were in danger, we wouldn't have the time to sit back and drink water. So it kind of tells our body like, hey, we're okay in the moment. We're gonna be okay. There's no predators or anything around us, so we're able to drink this water. Um, and then another one I like is progressive muscle relaxation. This is kind of a form of meditation. You can look up progressive muscle relaxation basically anywhere. My favorite one is on Therapist Aid. If you look up progressive muscle relaxation, there's a video that teaches you how to specifically do it. It goes through like different steps on how to tense your body and relax it. And it just shows you what part of your bodies are the most tense. Like for me, like for example, I hold a lot of tension in my shoulders. So I'm like, whoa, maybe I shouldn't be doing that after, all day. So just it takes some time to feel comfortable with it, but I feel like if you practice it enough every day, you'll definitely feel the difference. So those are two that I like the most. There's other ones like the 5-4-3-2-1 method, I don't really like those ones just because I feel like they don't work for me. A lot of these, work for some people and some that don't work for other people. So just trying out different coping skills and seeing which one works the best for you. Because again, we know we're not all the same and they're all not going to work for us. Another one is journaling. Um, Especially if you don't have somebody to talk to, just letting it all out on paper and knowing like, I'm going to read this myself and nobody else will. It helps a lot. So And the next one is, what are some healthy coping skills you engage in at the moment or that you want to engage in the future? And this could be for anybody, like Maribel, if you have any, or Morgan.
Yeah, and something like I know that when I like to do is like breathing, just like sitting there and kind of collecting myself and just breathing. I feel like that definitely helps relieve like some stress and you're able to clear your mind and kind of think a little bit better. Um and then I see like on here, like also like listening to music. I feel like that's also one I like to use too, just to kind of like again like clear my mind and stuff like that. But yeah.
Some of the things that I like doing are like mindfulness activities. So, I do beadwork, so sometimes that helps me like slow down and just like focus and kind of focus on one thing and help me to not have like 1,000 things running through my mind all at once. Also like coloring, like the adult coloring books. Those are really helpful too. And then like Maribel mentioned, doing like breath work and stuff is really helpful for me too when I feel like overwhelmed. So I definitely like doing activities that kind of help me like slow down and focus on like one thing. I find that that really helps me when I'm overwhelmed.
Thank you. Yeah. So there's a lot of different things you can do. It's just finding which one works the best for you.
Mhm.
Let me see. So I think another one that I like to do is every day I have to remind myself like 3 things that I'm grateful for.
Mhm.
And it can be simple things like I'm grateful that, I have shoes on today, or I'm grateful, that I have, supportive staff members in my department, or I'm grateful, that let me see, that I have like glasses today or something like that. So I always try to do that at least once a day, and I feel like that helps my mood a little bit and it helps me be in the present as well. Let me see. Another one, so I really like to I like to plant. And now that it's getting to become more warmer outside and like just being outside in general, with the sun, it lifts your mood up 100%. So planting is something that I'm excited about and just being outdoors. But yeah, so you have any questions for me? That went by pretty quick, but any questions?